Hi there, it's Tamara Payne coming to you from Everyday Superhuman to talk about a really fun topic that I love, that hopefully you love too, all about food. Oh, yay, yay, yay. So one thing, I'm a holistic health educator, and another one of my credentials is sports nutritionist. And if you followed this channel, great. And if you're new to the channel, welcome in. So glad to have you. I have lost 120 pounds, so almost a whole human being, and I've kept that weight off for 5 years. And so because it was my own goal and dream, when I turned 30 years old, I was 288 pounds and 54% body fat. I really wanted to gain knowledge about metabolic mastery. So this program that I'm actually getting ready to release later this year is called Metabolic Mastery. And so I'm going to share some of that information with you free, no charge, without you having to buy the program, just because I think it's really going to help so many people. So in Metabolic Mastery, I teach people how to usually eat lower carbohydrate, how to work out appropriate for their bodies, and also educate themselves about what really works for them and not. So I don't necessarily believe in very low carb, just so you know. I don't think that that's the best way to do everything in this world. I actually recommend, if we're going to look at the nutrition circle of macronutrients, I actually like to recommend about 20% of dietary intake of nutrients to be carbohydrates, appropriate good carbohydrates, and about 25 to 30% of your dietary intake to be protein, and then the other half essentially to be good fats like avocado and fatty meats and coconut milk and coconut oil and olive oil and grass-fed butter and things like that. So, and some nuts once in a while for some people. So let's talk about why all carbohydrates are not created equal, and to look at it from just a basic nutrition level of 3 things. And that is, number 1 is going to be how much sugar is in these carbohydrates, in these foods that have carbohydrates in them, how much water and how much fiber is in them. And so the absolute worst, the absolute no-no on the scale for almost everybody is liquid candy, also called soda, or those packaged candies and foods. The reason why is because there's so much added sugar in there, and there's so little of water and fiber. And so that's part of why that's on the no list. Now, some people are really gifted and can have a great metabolism, have great genetics. They can digest that food very easily. But most of us who are studying metabolics usually are not one of those people, and that's fine. There's a lot of research and nutrition information out there, how deadly and dangerous sugar is inside of your body, and that's been out really since the 1970s. It just hasn't gotten out because the sugar industry supports a lot of things industrial in the industrial way. So just understand that. So that's the absolute no on my list. Then the absolute perhaps, the maybe, is the processed grains and cereals and breads. And that doesn't have a lot of added sugar in it. It has a decent amount of water and fiber usually. But the thing is that the reason why that's still on my no list is because it may not have a lot of sugar, but it does actually spike your blood sugar usually. And it does usually have problems with both insulin and your ghrelin, your hunger hormones. And so that's why I just don't like those foods for so many of us. Now, metabolic mastery can mean that you're wanting to gain weight or lose weight. The basic bottom line is that you need to have nutrient-dense foods in your body, things that are just so beautiful and fulfilling for you. And that's where we start the good carbohydrates or the better carbohydrates. And that is where I introduce to my clients rice, whole beans, especially when those have been soaked, to get the lectins and the phytates out of them, and potatoes, and some nuts as well. And so that's the things that that's the bottom line good starting point. The reason why is because there's not too much added sugar, good amount of water, good amount of fiber. Then we start getting into what I consider to be the ideal carbohydrates, and those are things like nutritious, dense root vegetables like carrots and sweet potatoes and beets, things like that. So those are really beneficial for us because they don't have added sugar, they have just a wonderful amount of fiber and also water in them. And so then we also have fruit. Fruit is almost the best of the best carbohydrates, as long as you can control yourself when you're ingesting fruit. And a piece of fruit is exactly that, a piece of fruit. And so fruit has some added sugar, but it's natural sugar, not added. God-made, universe-made sugar, and we usually can process that. And then a ton of fiber and a ton of water in them. So for a real-world example is today, I woke up at 5 and got the dogs out for about a 30-minute walk, and was starting to get a little bit hungry and had some water. And so I had a piece of a serving size of watermelon, and it was delicious. That was about 7:30, so 2.5 hours after I awoke. And then now it's a little bit after noon. I have done my heavy weight lift for today, and I'm just starting to get hungry. And so anything that can satiate you, that is nutrient dense, that keeps you happy and full, I think is very beneficial. And then on the highest, best, most ideal carbohydrate, I think, on the planet for most of us is going to be those really good leafy greens, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, things like that, because there's no sugar in it, or very, very minimal amounts, great amount of fiber, and great amount of water. Now, one caveat or buyer beware that I like to include for so many people is that the nutrition scale of what we need varies from person to person. Some people only need 5 grams of fiber per day. And some people need all the way up to 50. I happen to fall in that lower range of about 5, 10, 15 grams of fiber is what I need in my body. Otherwise, I feel bloated, I feel uncomfortable. So everybody's very, very different. So I want you to take this information forward, use it for your own metabolic mastery. I hope that it's helped you in some way. And thanks for spending time with me. Have a great one. Bye-bye.